Hopefully. This hangout is on air. We are live.
We are live.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm just going to check the preview page, make sure we're on. I'm going to refresh it. Oh, and I should probably drop a comment in and let everyone else know that we're live.
So we're on there.
Yep. Oh, nice. Nice job, Mike. It's hilarious. Okay. Hello. Oh, I have to sign in. Wait a second. I have to sign in to comment.
Sign in.
And we are signing in with Livefire, and it's info at MikeMendelHypnosis.com, and the password is, I can't remember. Yeah, it worked.
Nice. What was it? Scary? I think you're taking over the thing.
It's Blackjack. The password is Blackjack.
Nice.
made that up when I was 21.
Beautiful.
Wow, hey, and the audio, I noticed that the audio is only about 10 seconds behind.
Not even, Chris.
That's really amazing. If this gets...
Let's see how long it is behind. And we start from now. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, you're counting too fast.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I would say it's really
10
less than 10 seconds.
But yeah, I'm doing Kodak 1, Kodak 2.
Okay, it's 10:59. We're going to be starting the open frame in about 1 minute. So this is just our... Check.
Yeah, checking all systems.
Hey, you know what I meant to do that I didn't do yet?
Afraid to ask.
No, I was going to post the embed code for the video in the Facebook group as well, so that if people are on Facebook, they can watch the open frame
when they're in bed.
Right in Facebook.
Oh, I thought you said in bed.
Embed code. And to embed the video into Facebook. You can drop that right into Facebook, which is actually pretty cool.
That's nice.
So, and Renee says, "Hey there."
Hey, Renee. Good to see you, buddy.
The sun is shining. The weather is sweet. That's awesome.
Same here.
Any squirrels out there? Any squirrels? No. All right. We are good. So I guess you can see us. Rick is online. Yeah, people are coming in. That's
excellent.
Good.
Hello, Rick.
I'll drop a quick message in Facebook just to let people know that we are
on. I'll just have a sip of this perfectly ordinary coffee.
Yeah, I'm just going to copy the link, go to Facebook, and make sure everyone knows we're doing this. And where's the...
Oh, fantastic.
I think I'm going to invest in a higher table so I don't have a hunch when I want to use the computer.
That's good.
Okay, so
put your hand in your pocket.
Are live at this URL.
Can't believe we are ready to go.
Post. Okay.
And our friend
it is officially 11:01, so we can. Where's the preview window again? Make sure we're good. Okay, yeah, Miguel is online.
Miguel
is online. Renee is online. We got more people coming in, obviously, every minute. And, of course, there is the replay.
So let's just talk about pre-framing. One of the things we need to talk about, Chris, is HypnoThoughts Live in Las Vegas. And I just want to mention this. Our one-day pre-conference training on mindscaping. For those of you who haven't done it, if you're considering going to Las Vegas for HypnoThoughts, we highly recommend it. We went last year, had an absolute blast. Nico, I think, is going to come in from France for it. We got Stephen coming in from Louisiana again. People who've been to it once love coming back. You hang out for like 4 or 5 days with us, have a complete blast. Go to all kinds of cool presenters like Larry Ellman, Dave Ellman's son. A lot of our storm riders like Rick and Lisa and Nancy and Dee Dee are presenting, and Kim, and it's going to be an absolute blast. Now, if you've not done mindscaping, Chris, explain the deal with this, because it's kind of interesting what can happen if they're coming up.
Just for those of you who aren't aware, the details about the HypnoThoughts Live conference are at htlive.net. And
it's not till August. You've got 5 months to prepare, to put the money aside a little every week, and come and have the time of your life.
It's fantastic. Yeah, the price. I think the ticket price actually goes up today. The HypnoThoughts ticket, it's $339
for the entire conference
right now, and it's going up to something higher than that today.
Right.
Anyway, we have a special deal with them because the way we structured it is for those people who buy the Mindscaping course, the digital course, which is $197 for this particular
which you get
offer.
Immediate access to.
Yeah, then we are able to give you a discount on the HT Live ticket, and the HT Live ticket price, I think we are able to give it to $275.
I don't know.
Anyway, we give you a special link. It's on our page, which is MikeMendelHypnosis.com/HT Live 2016. And why am I putting a dot over?
No idea.
One. There we go. HT Live 2016, all lowercase. MikeMendelHypnosis.com /. And the ticket, I believe, is Yeah, we can give you a link so you can buy your HypnoThoughts tickets at $275, which saves you a substantial amount of money, almost like makes the Mindscaping course pay for itself.
So what did they get as well as HypnoThoughts?
So as a bonus, basically you get to come to our one-day Mindscaping session. So we're doing Mindscaping for one full day, August 25th. So the whole conference runs from the 26th to the 28th. It's a 3-day conference. And the day before the start, that's when we do Mindscaping.
So come and do a whole day, get properly trained in it, get all the online Mindscaping stuff too, and a deal on your HypnoThoughts ticket. Come to Las Vegas.
So far, we are almost at 30 people who have signed up for it, which is pretty awesome.
The cool thing too about the Mindscaping course, as one of my students was saying just Wednesday night in the pub, was when you buy the online digital version, to get it in depth beyond what you get in MMHA, which gives you the 101, it's still, you can use it. The wonderful thing is you get one online student and do Mindscaping, and you paid for it.
Yeah, that's
charge $200 a session, do Mindscaping online, give people these amazing shifts, and it pays for itself right away.
Anyway, we really do emphasize, for those of you who are in the academy, the HypnoThoughts conference is a fantastic conference because, as Scott Sandlin puts it, it's an all-inclusive conference. It's the only conference that we know of where a lot of people come and teach, and they're teaching awesome stuff, but it's one fee and you get to go to everything, and all of your lunches are included.
The lunches are,
So we went last year and we just thought it was a great conference, which is why we're heavily promoting and saying come to it. And since they asked us if we wanted to do a pre-conference event, which we're doing, we're letting you know about that too. But even if you can't make our pre-conference event, the tickets are still worth buying for HypnoThoughts. It's an absolutely wonderful show.
And I'll be teaching 2 sessions through the regular conference day, one on Introduction to Ericksonian Hypnosis and one on Metaphors. So anyway, come out and check online and see these amazing presenters from around the world. We made a lot of great friends there, and you will too.
And if you're just a casual kind of hobby studying this stuff for fun right now and you're not interested in going to a conference, Lesson 26 in the Academy, doesn't cost you anything, and it teaches you Mindscaping 101.
Nice.
So to keep it, low pressure.
So today, Chris, we're looking at, we wanted to do a theme. So we're going to talk today about accentuating the positive, working with the positive.
Yes.
Because we've talked so much about pain and trauma and all of these horrible things. And today we're going to be talking about the opposite. John Grinder told me years ago, I was having lunch with him, which was a blessing to be able to say that I had lunch and dinner with John Grinder, but a genius, a living genius. And he said to me, there's many times you do not have to wipe out negative states. If you build in enough positive resources, you can overwhelm the negative stuff and it will pop. Probably shouldn't be doing that with a cold sore.
Yeah, there you go.
So a little cold sore, touch your eye.
I get the equivalent might be thinking, let's say why do I always come back to this metaphor? But you have let's say you have an office job of some sort, and there are so many wonderful things about it, but there's a few little things. Well, you don't really tend to focus on the little things, right? You don't, it's such a horrible cafeteria, which you solve by bringing in your own healthy lunch.
Yeah.
You instead talk about all the wonderful colleagues that you have and your amazing boss who's so supportive of you.
And the
6 weeks of vacation that they give you, and you build up an amazing experience for people, and then the little things that bug you are just not important anymore.
Yep, that's right. And it's the same when you're working with clients. If you can, although I say the Mandel model to de-traumatize first, and that's a general rule, remember. None of these are carved in stone, but you really need to know the rules in order to break the rules. So we recommend you stick with the way we're teaching it until you've got a number of years under your belt, then you can sort of move off on your own and do everything wrong. But having said that, do everything wrong. Brilliant. So today we're going to look at all kinds of different ways of getting people into empowering states and focusing on the positive, and ways you can do it for yourself as well. And we're going to discuss all of that in some considerable depth.
All right.
So let's talk about the whole thing of
I'll grab a piece of chalk here that I can.
You do that, Chris.
I think I'll just erase this stuff for the time being. So
you just go right ahead.
Ignore the moisture.
Yeah, just go right away and the head, and yes, done. I can stop talking about it. Nice, thank you. So remember with the Grinder model, the whole concept is your performance in any endeavor. Could be sports, could be playing a game of chess, could be studying, could be, helping a relationship function. Whatever it is, your performance is on the bottom of this hierarchy. And
performance, not perforation.
Not perforation and not perfumnabulation. Right. So in fact, not
perfection.
And not Tim mining on Jupiter.
Thank you.
So performance in any, just write performance. Okay. We don't need to Okay, just watching for bizarre things slipping into his handwriting. I had a weird one yesterday. I was doing a number of mindscaping sessions online, and the guy, one client, sent me his writing beforehand.
Yeah.
And he had criminality in his handwriting.
Speaking of which, McGill posted a sample in the MMHA Engage group that he wanted you to talk about. I don't know if it's going to be suitable to talk about in the open frame, but either way, we'll get back to you inside of the group in some way. Yeah.
So performance in any endeavor of any kind is based on your state.
Right.
So remember, we look at state as the sum total of everything going on inside you at that moment. What's your internal dialogue? What is your physical health? Your metabolism? What are you, what's your posture saying? What's your body language saying? What beliefs are you holding at that moment? What representational system are you processing with? It's everything. It's the totality of everything happening neurologically and psychologically and physiologically in you at that time. You want to add anything there?
Nope.
Okay. So if you change the state, you will automatically change the performance. And without changing the state, it's very hard to change the performance. And here's where we run into the thing. Just try harder, son.
Wow.
Son, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
You must really try harder. Just do a better job. It makes me laugh when I watch professional baseball players. You got some guys 26 years old who can throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and he's not striking anybody out. And this 65-year-old out-of-shape smoking coach comes out to the pitching mound and talks to him, and he goes, what's he going to say to him? Throw some strikes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Try harder.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? This doesn't work. Changing it at the bottom level doesn't work.
Yeah.
Very often. You've got to get into a more empowered state.
Imagine I was talking to somebody.
Thanks for jumping in. I needed a coffee.
Yeah, no problem at all. This is how we work, right?
Yeah, it is. Just work it, buddy. Go ahead.
So I was talking to a guy not too long ago this week. He used to be a comedian, so he'd go on stage and do stand-up comedy. And I thought, just because that popped into my mind as you were talking, can you imagine trying to deliver a performance that was hilarious in front of a crowd if you're in a pissed off state? It's not going to work.
Yeah.
How funny are you going to be when you're pissed off? Unless your act is about, pretending that you're really pissed off,
right,
and making jokes about it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's not going to work.
Right.
So you have to change that state so that you can deliver the performance.
So now let's look at this and expand on this in terms of ego states.
Right.
So remember, ego states come from the work of Paul Federn, who's a contemporary of Freud. From him, it was learned by Watkins and Watkins, who were a husband and wife psychology team. And from them, Gordon Emerson, the brilliant Australian psychologist, looked at this in considerable depth. I really recommend Gordon Emerson's books above all the others. I've got the other stuff, but Emerson's is down to earth. He says ego states, if you don't see them as liabilities, if you see them as resources, regardless of what they are doing, then it becomes possible to use them.
Sure.
So an ego state is not something you're imagining. It's not a mood. It's not feeling bad. An ego state is part of the physical structure of the brain. So it's actually burned in neural pathways that have been habituated mostly from childhood, and it is supported by synapses and all of the brain function. So when you go into a different ego state, one is running, and when the other one comes in, there'll be a tiny overlap, and then this one will pop. Oh, cold sore again. Scary. This one will pop, and the next one is running. You're not getting two at the same time. They're digital. They're not a bit of this one. I'd like a little bit more. That doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So you're going to say something hilarious.
Little bit woo,
little bit woo, little bit woo. That's right. Don't forget to lift one foot. Makes it funnier. So you need to be in the right ego state for the job. So we're going to come back to this. But if you frame it in terms of the physical structure of the brain, one of the primary problems that people have is they're not in the right state for the job. Now let's just elucidate that a little bit here and elaborate on it. One of the things about ego state, one of the things I hate doing is washing dishes. I despise washing dishes.
Oh, you've mentioned this before.
I really do. Yes,
hate it.
I do. But I used to hate it. So now I just make sure I'm in the right ego state to do it. So I want to be in an ego state that is quite comfortable doing this simple, repetitive, mindless sort of zone out task.
With your Glenn Gould music in the background,
or Black Sabbath or something. I get into the right state instead of a pissed off, oh, I got to do this again state. I get into a sort of a zone out state, and it's done. It's done quickly. Now, how are you going to change the state? Let's go up to the next level.
I was thinking you were dragging this out just to leave me hanging with this unspelled word.
Well, spell it. Nice. Chris, why don't you explain this one?
All right. So I'm so tempted to put a felon's claw just for the humor.
Yeah, when you dot the I, just for completeness.
Okay, right.
Thank you. You're dotting ones, but you're not dotting I's.
Attention to
Alzheimer's?
detail. Attention to
Oh,
detail.
no.
So physiology is your what you do with your body, how you hold your body, how you hold your head, where you move your everything about your body, right? So
Yes.
how you what you do with your body is going to really affect the state you're in. It's going to be very difficult. I think you taught this at the very first brain software seminar that I went to back
In Ottawa.
Carleton University in like 1993, I believe it
The
was.
nation's capital. Yep. It'll be
And-
about then.
And it was pre me discovering any of the like NLP and Tony Robbins, and I didn't know who Bandler and Grinder were or anything like that.
I didn't even know who I was.
No, I only know who you. I
Yeah.
only knew who you were
I
because
never
you had
dreamed
done
you would
a
move to
stage.
this.
You'd done a stage hypnosis show
Right,
before
right.
that. But part of the seminar, you did something like this. You said, "Okay, everybody, look down, and slump, and breathe shallow, and try to be really happy." Everyone, this doesn't work. Okay, shake it off.
Yeah.
Stand
Take
up
your
tall.
state off, yeah.
Breathe deeply. Look up, and move your body around, and try really hard to be depressed.
Right. Feel
You're going-
depressed. Yeah.
Or feel depressed. You're going, this is really stupid. It doesn't work. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
feel depressed.
Right.
Oh, you mean there's something to this whole how you move your body?
Yeah.
I guess
Well,
so,
actually, there
right?
is, yeah. And one of the things you can do is take on some aspect of the as if frame here. If I was feeling really fit and energized and was the ultimate hypnotherapist, how would I move?
It's the
How would I
opposite
act?
of
How would I
yeah.
feel? Then jump in and take it on. Live that physiology. How would you move? How would you stand if you were energized? And it was Dr. Lieberman proved the number one way of seeming younger than you are, number one, is moving faster.
Yeah.
So people go to nursing homes and they start modeling each other. Before long, they're shuffling.
Do the whole how you can't move your
Yeah,
neck.
next thing
You
they're
have
not
to-
moving their necks, it hurts. So instead of stretching it out, they go, "Hey, Mike, yeah? Oh, hi, Chris. How you
Yeah,
doing?"
yeah.
You know, just
You do that so well. It's
shuffling
scary.
along. It's crazy. And that's a real danger. You want to get old fast, go to a nursing home and hang out with elderly people, and you'll take on their physiology and start playing checkers and slapping your leg when you laugh. And
Yeah.
who needs that? There was a study done a number of years ago. I think it was an
Slapping your leg
American
when you laugh.
by Jingo. There was this American psychologist, I believe it was, and she took people on this retreat. Remember this, Chris? To change their state?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
this is all relevant. Changing their state. She'd take people roughly my age, so late 50s, early 60s, and they'd go on this retreat, almost like a monastery
They
thing.
play like kids games.
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff, right?
there was no television except it was black and white, and it was the TV shows from their childhood.
Firing all the old anchors.
Yes, and the newspapers, the magazines were all from their childhood. The books were,
Yeah.
and there was no phone, no
I
cell
think you
phones.
said too, like,
nothing.
they played games like Duck Duck Goose or whatever.
Yeah,
Like, they
Monopoly and stuff,
Childish
and
games.
conversations, and they photograph everyone when they come in, male and female, take like a mug shot
Yeah.
both ways, and then at the end of the week, they photograph them again, and every single one looks 5 to 15 years younger.
Yeah.
They've gone into the states, they've accessed their childhood, their youthful states, instead of the old guy states.
So this is a big
Changing
one.
the physiology is a huge one. Move faster. How would you move if you were feeling awesome? How would you talk if you were completely confident and congruent? Remember to steeple your hands. It sends such a message of authority.
Yeah.
Anything at this point, Chris, we need to look at?
You mean in terms of comments
Yes.
and stuff?
Or so let's just go right
Let's
through
just finish
first.
this
Okay.
and then we'll get through the rest of the
Why don't-
welcomes.
Why
from
don't
everyone.
you introduce the breathing?
Well, breathing. So
I'm breathing right now.
if you want to do, let's continue with the example that I was giving from when Mike was teaching this brain software seminar back in the 1990s, early 1990s.
Okay.
So you want to stand tall and you want to look up and you notice that you're happy. Well, guess what? By default, your breathing has changed. You're not breathing all shallow and from the lower abdomen when you're looking up. If you're in that kind of physiological state or physiological position, I get what do you want to call it? You're behaving in a certain physiology.
Yes, right.
With you're carrying a certain
Carrying a
physiology.
physiology, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
nice.
maybe the better
It's
way
good.
to
Or
put it.
manifesting a physiology, yeah.
Breathing comes with it first. So the first thing that you want to do if you want to change your performance is change your breathing.
Right.
Then notice what physiology matches that.
Has happened,
What
right.
is a congruent physiological I was going to say state again. I don't like that. What physiology is congruent with that breathing?
Okay, what postures and everything.
And then
motions,
notice
gestures,
the
body
state
language.
that you want to be in,
Yep.
that you're going to naturally be in. Basically, it all comes automatic, pretty much. They all
Yes.
just fall into place like dominoes. Breathe, hold your body in the right way that matches the congruent message. You'll be in the right state, you'll perform better.
And how do you work this with your clients? If you're a hypnotist, hypnotherapist, consulting hypnotist, coach, whatever, you
Put
can do
them
this
in
with
a
your
high
clients.
performance state.
Teach them how to get into a high performance state. Get them moving differently.
And
use the as if frame.
Probably only in the last 12 months did we really start talking about the idea that you develop these high performance states before you do the hypnosis.
Anchor them in context,
right?
so they fire automatically, which is going to lead us to the
Mhm.
next one in a moment.
It's amazing that script readers don't teach this stuff. Right? No, sorry.
But that's absolutely fantastic. It's a simple thing. When John Grinder showed me this, I thought it was absolutely mind blowing because the simplicity of it. And he said there's one higher than this, which is brainwaves, but we aren't there yet. Now, how powerful is this? Listen, guys, I want to tell you from my own.
Now we'll go through the
We'll
questions.
give you a
while you
personal
talk.
example here. I had an extremely severe neck injury at age 14. I almost broke my neck. A sadistic teacher, as usual,
Yeah.
forcing me to do dive rolls I couldn't do. I sprained my neck, nearly broke it. I had the most severe acute torticollis my doctor had ever seen. I was like this, no exaggeration, like that. And I couldn't straighten. They sent me for diathermy treatments. They don't even do them anymore, like almost like microwaves going into your body, and deep massage that to release this spasm. From that day, I've had neck problems. I re-injured it in a car crash at the hands of another person. It wasn't me driving as a passenger. Since then, I've had chronic pain every day of my frickin' life. But guess what? Even though I'm older now, the last 20 years, it's not been so bad because I have learned how to be in more empowered states on a daily basis. As a result of that, the pain has just become background. Now, if I want to focus on it and feel it, I can go, yeah, I got bad neck pain right now.
This
But
is a good return.
then
to
it just
the topic.
disappears again into the background. Erickson did this every day.
Mhm.
Some say he had to work on himself for an hour a day because his pain from the polio spasms were so great.
Yeah.
And again, it's if you're in a very empowering state, even things like pain will disappear. I'm telling you guys, yesterday was Angus Young's birthday, the most
Hey,
significant
Stu.
human
Go
being in
ahead.
the world,
Yeah.
guitarist for AC/DC, the psychotic schoolboy. If I'm front row for AC/DC,
You feel nothing
I
other
feel
than
no pain.
ecstasy.
yeah, man,
Yeah,
that's great.
the awesomeness.
Yeah.
Headache. Yeah, I had a headache a couple days ago, I think it was.
Uh-oh.
And whatever it was, I didn't bother thinking, oh, I'll take some Tylenol. I just went about my day. And I can't remember exactly the details here, but things just started to be awesome. I was having a great time, getting some work done, having some cool conversations with people, and headache just gone. Just now, when I thought about it, oh, it's still there a bit.
But you had
But
background.
I didn't
Yeah.
care. Yeah. And that's the whole that I guess leads into focusing on the positive, which we're going to go to next, right?
Right, absolutely.
Before we do, shall we do it quick?
Let's do that.
We've
Speaking of background, Chris,
Stuart is here, Nadine
William Woods
is
is
here,
presenting
and-
again at HypnoThoughts. And
Yes.
he's one of the best NLP trainers I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Really good. So it'd be nice to see him.
Highly recommend go see William Woods in Vegas when you're there.
Yeah.
As long as he's not
And
presenting.
Carl Smith.
As long as he's not presenting at a time that overlaps Mike Mandel.
Yes.
In which case he
we want
definitely
our
should
room
go.
full.
Yeah, we recommend Carl with a K, K-A-R-L Smith. He's awesome. He's got some really good
British hypnotist,
detraumatization
phenomenal.
strategies.
Yeah.
The calls it the kinetic shift method, I believe.
Our own Captain Rick. He's
Yeah.
going to be doing an amazing seminar.
Nancy's going to be teaching
Yeah.
there. A lot of people. It's going to be great. And so we got Dave in Leamington, Ontario, also online. We got Stuart, Hong Kong. I assume.
Leamington, the potato. I almost said the big tomato.
The big tomato.
Yeah.
Nice. And Ryan Pels is online.
I did a show at Leamington High School, probably early 1980s.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember the tomato.
The tomato.
There's a giant tomato there.
Okay. I'll just trust you on that.
Okay.
I have no idea what you're talking about. All right. So no questions at this point. Just
All right,
hellos.
good.
So people are fully
It
absorbed.
means
and paying
we are
attention.
delivering the
Let's
goods properly
continue.
as always. Let me adjust.
He's just going to log into his iPhone, which the FBI can now
Let me
hack.
just, yeah, apparently. Let me just log into my, why is the basket?
Enter your 16-digit passcode.
Yeah, I just do that.
Yeah.
I'll just go
That'll
right
work.
ahead. There we are.
He's going
Chris,
to his
wanna look
notes.
at my notes?
He's not checking his emails, in
No,
case you're wondering.
I'm offline.
So
I'm just checking
we're
my notes.
looking at notes. So we've gone through the Grinder model. We've did you want to talk about calling ego states to the executive?
Oh, yes, brilliant,
All right.
brilliant. Okay, so we're back to the state. And if we look at them in terms of ego states, part of the physical structure of the brain, what do you do if you want to get into one of these states yourself? Now, we've already said you can facilitate this through shifts in breathing. So if you're breathing deeper, breathing more fully, and you're adding a relaxed physiology, not a rigid, oh, I'm so strong. It's always relaxation. Relaxed muscles apparent in this. In fact, Wednesday night in our British Jiu-Jitsu class, one of the guys was doing, he was working with a slapjack against the pad.
Yeah.
And he came over to me and he said, I keep forgetting to breathe. Now, any martial artist will tell you, you have to breathe through the technique to get the power.
Right.
If you hold your breath in a technique, your power goes, it just tanks. So the breathing is absolutely crucial for this. So
fully agree.
You want to get the right state into the executive. There's all kinds of ways of doing it. And I recommend all of you do this right now. I'm going to show you.
Let's do it. Yeah, I want to do this too.
I'm going to show you right now. So we're going to say, you want to be in a state that's, let's say, powerful, focused, and a positive learning state. How's that?
Yeah.
So what you do is you make a shopping list, because you have anywhere from maybe 100 to 150 different ego states. You use about 5 to maybe 15 in a given day. But there's some that have not been used properly for years, and they want to help you. They are parts of your personality. When people talk about parts therapy, it's ego states they're talking about, which are states. So you want to get the ego state that's right. So if I'm going to do something like make a presentation to a group of kids. I did a high school presentation a month ago, and it was this program to help kids do better and learn, and they had to apply to even get in this program. And I wanted to go out there as this guy in his 60s, but I got to wow these 16, 17-year-old kids. So I'm backstage, and I'm not thinking, oh, what can I say? How can I sound like them?
Yeah.
Hey, like I saw a guy once, he made
Cool
one of
dad, yo.
hey,
Yeah.
Relax, cool dude, chill out. He's saying this to a 16-year-old kid who's thinking, you're just creepy.
Yeah.
So anyway, I put myself in the right state. I'm in the dressing room and say, I want in the executive that's running things, I want an ego state that is powerful, congruent, friendly, and I just make a shopping list and then pause and breathe that in.
So
you
you
feel it.
So shopping list is, let's just put at the top, or I'll just say shopping list.
Yeah.
So you're creating this list of itemized things that you want.
And then change your physiology.
Hey, how would I breathe if I had all those things?
Well, even more than that,
right?
Chris, you're actually calling it to the executive. You
Okay.
said, I want an ego state in the executive that is powerful, congruent, supremely confident.
You're calling it into huge.
Yes.
You're calling this state.
And the one that is
executive.
closest to that
Right.
and would like to fulfill this task will jump into the executive.
And it will start breathe. It will cause you to
and
breathe the way you want to breathe.
change the breathing to help
Right.
it get in.
Right. Okay. So that's sort of like the installation.
Yes.
So you make your shopping list. Here's what I want. I want to be congruent. I want to be clear.
I want a
confident.
state who would like to do this. Take the executive who will be congruent, strong, confident, friendly to these kids. And then you've said it. Now remember, as Larry Nims, another one of my brilliant teachers, pointed out, your unconscious mind, although he says subconscious, well, he's wrong. Your unconscious, I know it's just a label. Your unconscious mind is aware of everything that is going on in your entire frame, all of your physiology at any given moment, including what you are consciously thinking. It's even monitoring your thoughts. So when you make this list, your unconscious will help that state, that ego state, get into the executive.
Right.
So you call it there, and the one that would like to do it is the one that'll show up. You never want dissonance of a state that doesn't like doing something in the executive. That's what you see all the time.
So you're sort of like calling volunteers from the audience, right? Who would like to come up here and be a victim for this demonstration?
Right.
A subject, right? So here are all your states that are available, your ego states.
Well, Chris,
which
you said
one
a
is
thing that's
best?
you said a thing inadvertently brilliant.
Would like to.
Well, when you're doing a hypnosis show, for instance, he made a phenomenal point there, which is why he's the only trainer I've ever certified.
All right.
This is really clever stuff. If you're doing a hypnosis show, you say, I'm looking for people who would like to come up here and really enjoy being in a deep trance, and just make a shopping list. And those are the ego states that'll show up on stage, which will make your job so much easier. I mean, that's fantastic.
So you think of your executive as a stage, and you're calling a volunteer, in this case, the volunteer that best suits the job,
who would like to do
this with alacrity.
With alacrity. One of the problems you'll run into when you have poor performance in a task, it is often because the wrong state is executive at that moment. I've said before, I had an agent, Zoe, God bless her, she died a number of years ago, lovely woman. She used to get pissed off about all kinds of stuff working as an agent. She could never put her prices high enough, and she'd complain to me on the phone and whine all the time. And she had this little black dog called Benji, and I could change her state instantly by drawing attention. Yeah. Zoe, how are things? Oh, these idiots, and I can't get my price up, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And she'd go for a couple minutes and say, how's Benji? Oh, then she's fine, and she'd switch into this totally different ego state. Listen, guys, observe, calibrate people. You will see them shift into ego states. They look different, they sound different, they move different. Start to be aware of this with your clients and help them call empowering states into the executive. Chris,
I want to tell you a quick story. I haven't told you this.
Good, because I want to drink this coffee while he does.
Just speaking of breaking state, getting people into that right resourceful state. So my daughter, who's 11 right now, is a bit moody right now. She's going through those preteen years. And
and Chris and I will be screening all the boyfriends.
And she'll say things like, "I'm not a morning person, Daddy. You know, don't bug me in the morning." And so she was being a little bit rude. It was actually yesterday.
Yeah.
And I said to her, "Oh my goodness." I was talking to my other daughter, and I just segued the conversation to include my older daughter, who was the subject of this whole story.
Language police, elder.
And I mentioned to her, I said, "You remember we used to take you to the zoo in Toronto when your sister was just an infant. She'd sleep in the stroller and we'd take you to the zoo. And it was awesome because you didn't know what all the animals were, but you did know what a dog was. And you'd see an animal with 4 legs and you'd just look at it and point at it and get all excited and say, duh, duh, duh." And you thought everything was a dog. And she started laughing and she gave me hugs and she told me, you know, how great I was as a dad.
You called a different ego state.
All I did it was bring her back to this childhood memory, and we had told her this story once or twice before in her life. So she remembered it and thought it was hilarious. Plus it fit in so well with the idea that just maybe 3 or 4 days before that, on the weekend, we had watched a whole bunch of family movies, old family movies from when they were little. So this was firing that very recent anchor and much older anchor from when we told her the story of the past. Her state was completely disrupted. She breathed differently, moved differently, behaved differently.
And when you say disrupted, you mean
in a good way.
That state had left the executive under disruption and popped a new one.
Right.
Yeah.
That all just through pattern interrupt, really, and storytelling.
Yeah.
Right.
And remember, that's how a lot of anchors will work as well. There's a huge overlap with all of these different things from hypnosis, NLP, the Chinese medicine stuff. They all overlap in different areas. And when you fire an anchor and somebody's state changes badly, it's a different one that's come to the executive. So that's what the anchor has done. It's called a different one there instantly. We got B.F. Skinner's classical conditioning only really, really fast, and more so. Quick example. Some of you heard this before, but it bears repeating.
And I see your question, Renee. We'll get to it in a moment.
My friend, actually someone you have worked with recently, so I won't say the name, but he and his wife, his ex-wife, they were going through a lot of problems in their marriage. On each other's case constantly. Yeah. Constantly. They went to, and we figured all this out after the fact. They went to a therapist who I knew. I had met this woman. And she was remarkably inept. And she basically told them, whenever you have a fight, because he would just leave the room. He would disengage.
Yeah, so
she said, hold hands and look each other in the eye when you argue and fight. She wanted to keep them present. Well, it anchored the bad states with them looking at each other and holding hands. He told me they were in a national park in the Maritimes in Eastern Canada. And they'd worked on their marriage and things are going better and they're walking through the woods and everything's okay. And they started holding hands and he said they looked and started talking and he said the worst argument of their life blew up and totally wrecked their vacation. Now what's happened? That anchor that inept therapist who I would love to name but won't because I'm a professional.
Brought a state to the executive.
Brought the angry, stressed out state to the executive, which is a great state to have there if someone's trying to break into your house or something, but it's not the kind of state you want to run a marriage with.
So are you saying essentially that, and I know the answer, I'm just asking this.
Hypothetically, right.
If you fire an anchor that inserts that state into the executive, and therefore you're into, I need you to look at the screen here from the black.
There we are.
So you automatically insert this, and then it has a cascading effect. It changes the physiology and the breathing, and it changes your performance.
Yes, it will go both ways because even though this is lower on the lower on the hierarchy, realize a different state is like having a different person in the room. And that different person by necessity will breathe differently and have a different physiology. Realize as well, guys, the states are so separate. They're not imaginary. They are parts of your personality. And the only difference between you and I and Chris and all these other people functioning and listening now and somebody who is dissociative identity disorder, formerly called multiple personality, is our states know about each other. If you go into the kitchen and you're standing there at the fridge door and you go, what did I come in here for? A different ego state told you were hungry. One that's there to look after your ecology sent you into the kitchen, and a different one showed up at the fridge. That's why you say, well, go back where you were, and then that other state comes back.
And just to because we have the Wellness Academy that we also run people through on occasion, let's point out that the state that was in the executive that brought you into the kitchen maybe wasn't looking after your ecology, because you might have been looking for junk food.
Yeah,
and all
sure.
of a sudden you go, hey, hold on a second. No, I run my life by a new set of rules now.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a different state in the executive, the state that wants to be well and fit and healthy and eating good quality foods and you know what? I'm not hungry anymore.
Right,
I don't need
right.
food right now.
And it was a different state that triggered you going in the kitchen. Now that's normal mental health. But if you're standing in the kitchen, you've been there for 2 hours and don't have any memory of it, now you're in dissociative identity disorder. It is a different personality jumps to the executive. So the personality I have executive when I'm teaching and when I'm talking to you in a webinar is not the same one when Chris and I are having lunch and doing stupid things.
Yes, which we do a lot. Stupid
probably
things.
Too much.
Yeah.
But we admit it.
So it's okay.
So now the other thing is, when you're dealing with a client, learn to calibrate, learn to watch the shifts happening.
Yes.
Because they do talk differently, they act differently, and so on. Go ahead.
I want to just make sure before we move on and also answer Renee's question here,
Yes.
that we fully explain this idea of calling a state to the executive.
Okay.
So you've made your shopping list,
Yes.
right? Your list includes all the things that you want. I want to be humorous with these kids. I want to be confident. I want a state that would like to be. I'm going to call I want that state that would like to best serve these needs of this shopping list to come to the executive. You call it in, and then you're breathing in such a way as to act as that installation of that state.
You're breathing in an empowering way, deep, relaxed.
And then you can what's next?
Okay, well, this is one way of doing it.
Okay.
But I'm going to show you now a super fast way.
Ooh.
So we have given you.
Set up the anchor.
No, we have given, yes,
Yeah.
we've given you a list to sort of understand this. And this is key stuff. We've talked about it in other webinars and podcasts, but this is critical for anybody who's doing hypnosis to understand what's going on. So another way around it, if you're working with a client, naturally you can use DSIH, direct suggestion in hypnosis, which is how Bernheim and Lebo got all of the changes in suggestive therapeutics. They were just doing direct suggestion. So they were doing things like, you're
able to easily focus on the positive things in your life. You're a happy person. You're
right,
congruent.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
You eat healthfully. You exercise appropriately.
The next time you're in that argumentative situation, a state will show up that will be powerful and happy and not threatened. You will be assertive but not aggressive, so that you can do it through direct suggestion.
You're just giving people in suggestion the exact menu that they want to eat from.
And the key is make sure it's their menu, not yours. Ask them to make the shopping list of what they want in that context and use their words. Remember, from early in the course, offer their language back. If they say, I want to be assertive and strong, don't say, and you're going to feel powerful and aggressive. That's not their words. They're different nominalizations.
So remember, this is why every single client session must begin with the magic question. What do you want?
Right.
If you don't ask the magic question, what do you want? And fully flesh that out so you get their words, then you can't do what Mike's describing.
And then, of course, remember your magic words at the end of the session. What's next? That empowers them and puts the locus of control back on them so they are responsible for their own shifts. So we're working with the positive here. Here's the awesome way, and I saw this in one obscure book. I've never seen it anywhere else, and this will absolutely change your life and the lives of your clients.
I have no idea what he's about to say, so I'm waiting for it.
It's the triple warmer tapping.
Oh, you're just talking about
the triple warmer tapping. This will call, I didn't realize what it was doing at first. This calls the empowered state to the
executive. So I do know this, obviously.
So this is pure positive stuff. So remember, we get people come out to our class from all over the world. And so they're in the class, you get 25, people, whatever, plus Chris and I, the resource people. People are nervous. They've never been to Toronto anymore. They show up this big cosmopolitan city and figure they're going to be in some backwater somewhere. They land in the airport, 16 lanes of highway and CN Tower. And it's like, whoa, it can be overwhelming for people.
Especially when they get into the room and it's fairly full and it gets pretty loud when everyone's talking. And
so
a lot of people know each other.
And lots don't.
People are like,
I don't know anybody.
Where are all these people?
They seem to know hypnosis already. So I want to put the entire room in a good state. So we all stand. And I recommend all of you do this wherever you are right now. Do it without looking like a mental case. Do it. You stand up and you are going to tap the triple warmer, which is from Chinese medicine. Chris is showing you where it is. You can use either hand. I recommend you tap with your dominant hand. It is on the back of either hand. If you follow your baby finger and your ring finger in on the back of your palm, you will see there's a channeling here. Good. I use this with clients on Skype all the time. 2 fingers wide, 2 fingertips will fit into this slot between the ring finger and the baby finger on the back of the hand. All you're going to do is repeatedly tap there firmly and say the positive. So let's all do it together right now. So we do this every class, getting to stand day 1. So we tap. I say to the class, say this, and you're going to do it with me.
Yep.
I'm feeling awesome.
I'm feeling awesome.
And you do this at home too. I'm ready for anything.
I am ready for anything.
I am resourceful.
I'm resourceful.
I am super resourceful.
I am super resourceful.
All my resources are online.
All my resources
I'm
are
feeling
so online.
Powerful.
I'm feeling powerful.
I'm ready for anything.
Ready for anything.
I'm going to have a blast.
I'm going to have a blast. I am having a blast.
I'm going to contribute to this class.
I am going to contribute even more than I ever thought possible to this class.
These are some of my best friends in the world.
These are my best friends in the world.
So I'm learning.
I am learning.
I'm an amazing hypnotist.
I'm
empowered.
I'm empowered.
Okay, stop and breathe. Feel that surge of energy. Now, of course, the class stuff isn't going to apply because you're at home, but the other stuff will. And you have just called a very positive, strong state to the executive.
So if you're working with a client, Mike, you can do that. I do this with my clients all the time. So whether it be tapping, whatever, I'll do this kind of thing, and just to prepare them for the session.
Beautiful.
So let's say they haven't made the change yet. They're working to get over this horrible anxiety that's been stressing them out for years. So I won't tell them I am stress-free. I am free. I'll say I am ready to give up this anxiety and move towards my goals.
Beautiful.
I am ready to feel amazing and confident and comfortable. And I'll set it like preparedness remarks.
Nice. That's a great
direction rather than states that you're in already. So that way, the state that I'm calling to their executive is to be ready to make that change.
Yes.
The next thing I might do would be mindscaping or hypnosis, depending on the order. Sometimes you'll do mindscaping first. Sometimes you'll do mindscaping later to continue with the momentum as they leave. Right?
And that's great, Chris, because this can also be used not just for calling a state to the executive, but as a new belief install. So this will install new beliefs. Remember, I said before, I worked in 2004. I came out of retirement in 2004. Like 12 years later, I'm not retired. But 2004, I worked with the Australian multimillionaire rock star, and he lost his mojo, his confidence around women. And
this is what you did.
This is what we did. And he was saying, you know, I'm confident around women. I feel fantastic. I'm a Casanova. I'm unstoppable. Women find me attractive. All this stuff. And then I said, say I'm a swinging dick. He went, I'm a swinging dick. He's just going, I'm a swinging dick. I can see this installing. So we leave his office.
Which means you're installing it and you're seeing this.
Yes,
change,
this is happening. So I'm watching the shift in him so I know when we can stop. Typically 30 to 45 seconds will do it. So now we leave his office for lunch. And his personal assistant's there. And how's he doing? He says, I'm a swinging dick. She said, I don't know what you're doing, but he needs more of this. Phenomenal. Use this stuff, guys. It works. Use it on yourself. Use it with your clients.
It really is. Okay, now,
Renee,
and there might be more than one here. Let's see.
Amazing.
Okay. So we've got Renee saying, does it ever make sense to explain this hierarchy to your client?
There are times I do, yeah. I do explain it sometimes I don't. It really depends on the context.
And you wouldn't go into a whole lot of detail. If you were going to explain it, I would think that really all you need to do is say, look, if you want to perform well, you got to start with your breathing. Your breathing is going to control how you move your body and what you do with your body. That's going to control the state that you're in, and that's going to affect your performance. I would not go
But there's other times I do go into detail.
Okay.
If I've got a very analytical person, they want to know the science behind it.
Sure, okay.
And that it's not little bit woo, little bit woo.
Right.
So yeah, sometimes, again, context is everything.
Yes.
Most of the time it'll be what Chris said, just enough that we can get the work done.
Okay, let's read Stuart's question here, or comment. I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment.
Stuart Hong Kong?
Yes.
Hey, Stuart.
On the unconscious versus subconscious use of terminology, you now often say you're unconscious or, he says, I now often say your unconscious or subconscious mind in the beginning when speaking to a new person, and then just switch to unconscious later. I like that, actually, because that way.
Lovely, beautifully elegant.
Here are these two things, and I'll just use this one.
Nice,
that's
fantastic.
That way they won't resist you. That's true.
I will call that the Stuart shift. That's really cool.
They're more familiar with the idea of subconscious, whereas unconscious just means asleep to them. If they were to ask about the use of terminology, I would explain it, but if not, I would leave it be. I wouldn't want to lose rapport over terminology. How do you handle? Actually, so he's basically saying, how do you handle the use of the term subconscious?
I never use subconscious at all. Never.
That said, as a student of data and analytics, if you were to go and do a Google search on the term subconscious and count how many hits it tells you it has, like X number of million references to the word subconscious, and then do the same thing for unconscious, I think the number, I can't remember what the ratio is, but I want to say something like 3 times as many references to the term subconscious.
Okay.
So the general population definitely has more awareness of the term subconscious. I actually like that's pretty clever.
It's very clever.
Unconscious or subconscious, and then you just use the term unconscious.
Yeah, sure. Or you can do what I do, which is I just pre-frame it and say, you're not running your heart consciously, are you? Well, no. You're not even breathing consciously most of the time or blinking. No, these things are unconscious. You have an unconscious mind that runs all of these things, and all your memories are there, everything you've ever learned or seen, and that's what we contact in hypnosis. Bang, there's your pre-frame. Takes 15 seconds.
Right.
And does the same thing.
And that just explains to the subject why you're using that term.
Yeah.
And then you accept the fact that essentially they're the same thing. They're just just freaking words.
Yeah. Some people divide it into conscious, unconscious, subconscious.
Right.
This tripartite mind, which to me is just needlessly complicating. So whether you use unconscious as I do or subconscious, it doesn't matter. Again, you're going to honor your client's model of the world regardless. The reason I use unconscious is because that's what Eric's
I like that. If you're going to talk to the client about it, if they're going to object to some term or whatever, you just paint the metaphor of it's an on or off thing. It's a digital thing. You're either conscious of something like you're breathing at that moment, or you're not conscious of it.
I'm conscious of my breathing the second you said that.
There you go.
That's good.
Yeah. So there you go.
Thank you, Stuart. That's really good, though. Really good.
Really good. Like that. And Nadine, happy April Fool's Day. Thanks for a little bit of
it's April Fool's Day.
woo and a little bit of woo. A little bit of woo, a little bit of woo. Oh, that's what she's talking about. Okay. Yeah. All right. Awesome. And where are you now? Where do you want to go from
Okay.
So we covered 2 ways of calling states to the executive.
Okay. Let's.
Do you want me to read that for you?
No,
you don't have your reading glasses on?
I can easily enlarge it because it's an iPhone 6S. Now listen, I even set it in my car so when you turn on the Bluetooth, it says connecting iPhone 6S.
Oh,
just so I hear it, Anyway, listen. Another thing is using the empowering questions with your client is crucial to keep them in positive states when they leave your office. And my plan. Those of you who come and do mindscaping with me know that I teach you mind Skyping now as part of it. And there's a few aspects to this. So
I'm
there's
just going to clean this off
for
now because I want to point out something as you're talking about.
Well, you just do that, Chris. So there's the aspect of using the mindscape itself. Chris, you just jogged a memory there. Hang on, I want to get this back.
Well, you said empowering questions.
No. Prior to that, you were saying something about when you use the thing about saying not in that state now, but
preparedness.
I meant to add at that point, you can use this at the end of a session and say, I've already made amazing changes.
Right.
I'm moving forward in life. You can use that to seal your work at the end of a session as well. So I had forgotten to mention that because it was a different state in the executive. So there you go.
So remember this idea of present state versus target state. So if people are asking themselves why question,
I like to put a nice orange.
There you go. Yeah, here, you want to do there too?
I'll do the same thing.
Yeah, why not? Triangle. Yes. Okay. So this is typically where people are stuck, and this is where they want to go. And at the end of a session, you haven't put them at this. Now, state might not be the right word in this particular example.
Right, we're using it in the NLP term.
Yeah, when we say state here, we don't mean state of mind. We mean like place in your life, or now I'm super fit, or now I'm rich, or now I have the amazing dream wife that I've always wanted, and family.
Well, you could say present me and target me.
Right, exactly. So that's a good way of thinking of it. So just for now, present me and target me. So they come in stuck at present me, and they want to get to target me. You don't bring them there in one session. What you do is you push them along a vector, and you give them momentum to move in this direction. That's what you're doing for them.
Through the addition of resources.
Right. And so they're moving towards this. That's what the empowering questions do, and the belief installation and the calling states to the executive. You're getting their attention. What do you want? The magic question. Everything in the session is geared towards getting them here over time, right? What do you want? So now you understand the words and the phraseology that they're using. And what resources do you need to get there? You put them in these empowering states, and you fire them out of your office with momentum.
Nice,
right?
Beautiful. And that's how the empowering. You've got a damp cloth on your Apple computer. Right. There's remember, using empowering questions when they leave is critical. So I said, when I do mind Skyping, we'll do the mindscaping itself. I'll do some meta model stuff to find out what they want and challenge their model of the world. I'll do empowering questions. I'll do the 6-step tapping. So I have a number of modalities that'll get me pretty well anything I want. And the reason why is when I do mindscaping online, I'm not doing it on a screaming phobia with someone on the other side of the world that they're going to maybe abreact. I really pick and choose what I use. Having said that, there's a huge realm of things you can use it on. But empowering questions are a tremendous way of keeping your client moving, getting them moving and keeping them moving and putting them at cause so they don't feel the world is happening to them, as Chris and I were talking about earlier today, so they realize that they're the ones running the show. It's not life is just occurring. And people who are at effect instead of cause complain about this happened, that went wrong. They're not talking about I did this, I'm going to do this. So use your empowering questions with the client. Remember, you're going to do this. You're going to use questions to move the person. First, you're going to identify the target. What do you want? What's the target you? What will you see, hear, and feel when you have it? Then when you have this, remember, it has to be ecological. It has to be possible. It has to be within a reasonable time frame. The person says, I'm going to make $100 million this year. You know, they're so positive. Well, you better hurry up because you've got to make first 2 million this week.
Yeah.
You know, it gets a bit ridiculous. So make sure it's reasonable, but then ask them to frame their own questions. Resist the temptation to frame the empowering questions for the client. And I worked with a 12, 13-year-old girl out of Oakville, Ontario, who had issues with her teacher, and her mom brought her in, and we fixed the whole thing with empowering questions. Her first question was, why does my teacher get mad at me? That's not useful at all.
Yeah.
Folks,
Why
it's
is a stuck state
Why
question?
keeps you stuck? You know that from the course, right? From the online academy. So how can I get my teacher to like me? Well, that's a good start.
I think you said that she started with something even worse, like,
Yeah.
how can I get my teacher to
not
be
be mad at me?
me?
Yeah. And then we started building it into
Yeah.
how questions.
It's got to be process oriented. It's got to be
Down
positive.
to the person.
And it's best if you start building in presuppositions.
Well, you do that's your last step.
Yeah, that's your third step.
presupposition.
Actually, let's just write
So
that down real quick.
she's starting
So,
with process questions.
positive,
How and what can I do questions. And what will I do is even better.
Positive, process, presuppositions.
Total
Works.
lack of interest.
Works.
Okay,
All
that's
right.
good.
PPP method
Nice.
of empowering questions.
I'll never remember that. I'm not mad at my age, Chris. I'm not in the sort of ego state to know that.
PPP method of empowering questions.
So this is good. So you're going to
How does
start
that
with
lead
how
for you?
questions. Yeah.
All right.
How questions, not why questions. And you're going to move from, as I just tripped over a minute ago, you're going to move from what can I do questions. That's a very subtle trap. What can I do to improve my health today? Problem with that is that you're talking about possibilities. This is a modal operative possibility. What can I do? Well, I can do this and this and this. Okay, then you go out and don't do them. You're talking about what you can do. It's what will I do today to empower myself and make this change? What will I do this afternoon to improve my marriage when I see my wife? Whatever it is.
While enjoying the process immensely.
Beautiful. See, now he's building in the presuppositions.
Well,
As
will is also a presupposition. What will I do?
Of course it is.
Presupposes, but so you can basically stack these. Or not
Beautiful.
stack as maybe they're on.
As I work on
You can-
improving my health today, how will I also make other people's lives better? Seriously, guys, we really believe that you can get whatever you want out of life if you help enough other people get what they want. That's Zig Ziglar, and I think he's correct. And we really, really want you to excel and do spectacularly well in all of this stuff. So make sure you help people get what they want out of life, and the world will be the path to your door. When you let people leave your office or your practice or whatever, feeling strong and powerful, and it lasts because you have given them the tools to continuously use empowering questions to get in strong states and so on, the results will be phenomenal.
And I'm not going to point out to you that all of this can be used conversationally with anybody outside of a formal therapeutic context.
Yes, just
because I
buy this deck
don't
of
need to
cards.
say that, right?
You know, you
I don't
certainly
need to
don't
point out the obvious.
And I don't need to say how idiotic it was that you said that,
Yeah.
because it's so obvious.
And if I had, let's start meta-analyzing it.
That's good.
Okay,
Very good.
very
point.
good.
Okay, who else is up? We're in our last few minutes
Donna
here.
says better late than never. Absolutely. Better
Excellent.
late than
Better
never.
late than never.
Late at all.
Well, here's a metaphor for all of you. Ann Landers, the great relationship coach on life many years ago, someone wrote to her and said, I did not send a thank you note to my sister when she sent me a present. I feel bad now it's taken so long. And she said, it's going to draw attention to it. It's 6 weeks late. I should have done this 6 weeks ago. And her response was, better late than never. That applies to huge areas of our life.
Absolutely.
So instead of living in regret,
Well, yeah.
what are you going
Think
to do
about that.
today
Think about it,
to
you,
make the changes?
you never send the thank you note. So forever from that point onwards, the supposed recipient, the person who was supposed to receive the note, is like pissed off at you for the rest of your life.
Or just deeply disappointed.
and
or
you just
something,
get
yeah.
over it.
Thinks you're an idiot. Yeah. All right, who else we got here, buddy?
That's it right now. We're not having we don't have any more questions that have come in. So do you have anything else on this before we get to the questions that were posed in the Facebook group?
No, let's go right to it because we covered a lot of stuff here and we give them some good tools.
So do you remember the question that came in from, who was it?
That was the young lady.
Why am I not remembering now? Let me just
Probably for the same reason I'm not remembering. We said we were going to cover it in this.
Yes.
And of course, I don't have glasses on, so it's absolutely impossible for me to see this now. But Chris is going to start scrolling and scrolling.
That's horrible.
Horrific.
If you click on a tag, it actually searches Facebook globally rather than just your group.
Yeah, it kind of bites the wand. Yeah.
That's really not good.
No.
I have this great idea to tag everything as hashtag open frame if you had a question posted in the group. And it doesn't work nearly as well.
No.
Oh, okay, we've got a couple here though. But let's just scroll a little lower. I want to make sure.
Remember the young lady had a question and you answered and I did too. We said we were going to look at it in
that's
this
the
open
one.
frame.
That's the one that I said.
All right.
Yeah, here it is.
Yes,
Allison.
thank you. Well, you read it, Chris, and I'm going to go and have another sip of this perfectly ordinary coffee.
Good morning, lovely Storm Riders. I have about 6 million questions, and I thought I'd start with at least posting one. I used Mike's model of faster EFT for a client with weight loss limiting beliefs. It's a technique I never used or trained in before, and it worked really well, thanks. My primary work is as a midwife, and I want to have a deeper understanding of how and when to use this technique. Please excuse the simplicity of my questions. When to use. It's for releasing limiting thoughts and anxiety and de-traumatizing clients with PTSD. Is that correct? Doesn't necessarily be PTSD. Let's start with that. Chris? Allison.
Allison, yes. Excellent. I'm glad you're using it. So you are a doula. That's interesting. My niece is one too. Comes from the Greek, also from the word doulos. It means bondservant.
So when else would you use it?
Sorry, I'm just showing off my knowledge of Koine Greek from 2,000 years ago. Listen, you can use it at just about anything. Throw it at everything that is considered to be a negative emotion. So PTSD, there's going to be layers. You're always going to go with PTSD. Chalk.
Go for it.
Thank you. Eraser. Thanks, buddy.
Stuart commented on how you had a different ego state in the executive about erasing the board, something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right.
Brilliant. I did. Thank you. You got to watch that, Stuart. He's quite the lad.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So remember, when you're dealing with any kind of trauma, here's what you're going to go after with my 6-step tapping. And the reason I think this is an improvement on faster EFT is it adds this one point in the center of the top of the head, which I got from Chun Yi Lin, the Qigong teacher. And this in Chinese medicine is the anxiety spot. And you can often get rid of anxiety by having the person cup their hand or just tap there over and over while they think of the anxiety through the day. Their anxiety will lessen. It's amazing. And another thing on a side note is a lot of old time hypnotists, people like Jerry Kine and Cal Banyan and that, when they're doing hypnotic work, at some point they'll touch the person on their head and tap like this. And they never say why. They say, well, I find it helpful to tap on their head as I'm doing this. In Chinese medicine, that's the bladder meridian. The bladder meridian rids the body of junk energy that's doing nothing but cause problems. So it's not surprising that it works for them. So I've added this, making it a 6-step.
Okay.
So when you're working with trauma, PTSD, whatever, any kind of fear, remember anxiety is different. Anxiety can recur. It will tend to rebuild in certain personality types. So you have to empower the person to continuously work with this and keep knocking it down to 0. Remember, do not settle for feeling better. Oh, I feel better, I'm stopping. No, 0 it every time. Here's your pattern for any kind of trauma that has an origin in the past. Do the tapping on the first time it happened. Do the tapping on the worst time it happened. Do the tapping on the most recent. And do the tapping on the hypothetical next time it happens. So some of these may be the same. The first time might be the worst time. So you covered 2 in 1 stone.
And it may be
2
the
in
most
1
recent.
stone.
Yeah.
2 in 1.
2 in 1.
What am I trying to say there, Chris?
I have no idea.
Clearly the aging thing is happening. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, not covering 2 freaking points with.
Why is it always about death? Why are you always so obsessed with death?
It's always about birds, Chris.
Killing birds.
So here we have killing birds. So here we have the person might have had a spider incident. You take them back and you think about it and you get them into the state that was Vated. Remember, it must be the wounded state.
Yeah.
Talking, well, I saw this and I felt this. They're not in the state. This is a different state. The executive talking about the state. You've got to have them feeling it in their body. When they are feeling it kinesthetically, then the Vated, the wounded state, is in the executive. That's the one you tap. Or that's critical. So first time, then what was the worst time this ever happened? Oh, I was on a golf course and this tarantula attacked us and killed 5 of us. Okay, let's get rid of that one. Tap it down to 0. Have them stand when they do it.
Bring up the SUDS though, because that was actually part of her question in part number 2. When do you do the SUDS scale?
Oh, right, when you got them in the state.
Right.
So how bad can you feel about spiders right now? Tell me the first time it ever happened. Go into that experience. Feel it in your body. How bad is it now? It's about a 6. If they say it's a 1, they're not in that state. So get them in it. Tap it down to 0. If the number suddenly jumps up, so you start at 6, oh, it's down to 2. It should go fast. Oh, it suddenly jumped up to 8. Guess what? It's a different layer has popped to the surface. You've got to heal that one now. Just keep 0, 0, 0. Take a break. Have them move around. If you keep zeroing it, you will not lose any of the gains you have made. So do it on the worst time it happened. What was the most recent time? Do it on that. Do it on the hypothetical next time. Guess what? This will all implode. It'll fall apart. As Gary Craig brilliantly put it, you don't have to cut down every tree in the forest, which is this trauma. You cut down the biggest ones, the rest of the forest will fall down on its own and it will disappear. So use this for any negative stuff, fear, anxiety, sadness, trauma, grief, and use the tapping, the 9-gallon triple warm tapping as the good install at the end.
The new belief install. So in other words, everything you've written here, Allison, is essentially correct.
It is, yeah.
You also asked a question about, do I need to know the issue? Can I do it with a group on general anxieties? Absolutely. You can just call it the issue if you want.
Or you can call it that bad feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, if you do a setup, if things aren't moving, just do a setup. Have them tap the edge of their hand and say, you know, even though I have this anxiety, I love myself completely, or something like that. Have them say it 3 times.
Bingo.
Let them name it. When they name it, it affects their amygdala. So if they're calling it this anxiety, don't tell them to tap and say, okay, this horrific fear. No, they said this anxiety. Use their words to make it resonate with them and ensure the Vaded state is the one that is executive by having the person feel it rather than talk about it. The reason this is so important is why a lot of smoking cessation doesn't work with ineffective hypnotists is the person, the state that phones and makes the appointment is not the one that shows up in the office. So you have to make sure it is the wounded, Vaded, troubled state that is executive when you're doing treatments.
Bingo. Okay, next one is Adam Waterhouse. Have you had the experience of people with unrealistic positive expectations that led them to experience big disappointments? Would you agree that avoiding unrealistically positive expectations is as important as avoiding negativity?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You want to be reasonable.
Do you know, this fits in so well with the conversation you and I had this week on Voxer, where I was saying to you something like,
Breaker Ball's that.
people, yeah, that's our starting point.
Yeah.
No, remember the conversation though, people have sometimes this idea that hypnosis is a panacea. It's going to fix everything. And I said, you know, if you're dealing with asphyxia and you're not getting oxygen and you're going to die, well, I can't hypnotize you to just suddenly find oxygen.
Not needing to breathe.
Right. If you've got a blockage in your throat, hypnosis isn't going to make the blockage suddenly pass oxygen to your lungs.
Right.
You'll die. So yeah, unrealistic expectations. Absolutely. You have to make sure that you put people at cause.
Yeah.
They're responsible for making their change. You've got to make sure that they're motivated and they understand where they're going to go, and that's totally up to them. I'm saying the same thing
and if you interview your clients carefully before you even give an appointment, I don't get bad clients because if they're bothering me or they're just going to be problematic, I don't enter into a business relationship with them. I send them to somebody else or let them find someone else because I don't want to waste my time on someone who just wants to see if this is going to work. And I don't believe in hypnosis, and I want you to see, go find somebody else. I got enough people who really want help and are willing to work to get that kind of change. And there's millions of them out there, guys. You're never going to run out of working with really good people who will benefit. Don't waste your time with people who are time wasters.
Now, I know we're already just at the hour mark. Okay. We have questions that we're posted in the group, so we'll make sure we answer them. McGill, mindscaping question. Today I received a subject with a phobia. The trigger is shutting the lights off when he goes to bed at night. He communicates preferentially in the visual channel, so I did a rapid induction, then I used the rewind technique, the Bandler version in the theater, because he's old school and he likes Western movies. Perfect. I did a parts negotiation with fingers, yes, no, ideomotor, pre-framing that one part of him creates the phobia for some reason, maybe to protect him, etc., etc. At the end, we did mindscaping to see if everything was clear. He saw a castle with a lot of people and fog at his left, and a lot of nature and at his center and right. He didn't want to change anything in the scenario. I proposed building a fence or put a board with something like keep out. He refused to change the scenario. He said, I know all that negative things are there, so I can enjoy playing on this side, nothing in the horizon, nowhere to go, just play in the center, the right side. Is that bad?
Sounds great to me, because you're honoring his model of the world. And it sounds to me like his unconscious mind wants to preserve the learnings of keeping the bad stuff there while giving him the option of going into the good stuff.
Yeah.
So if he's saying that to you congruently, that's fine. If he comes back and it's problematic, then you want to reduce the size of the castle or something, or do the kind of thing you're saying about keep out signs.
And I apologize, I'm trying to read this from a bit of a distance, and I'm not reading it perfectly. But anyway, yes,
That's good work.
You're modeling his honor, you're honoring. I said modeling. You're modeling his honor of the world.
Maybe this will help.
You're honoring his model of the world, and then it sounds like you're also calibrating what he's saying. So if something is being said that doesn't seem like a congruent message,
right,
you can dig into that a little bit more, right? But if you get the idea that no, this guy's very resistant to making any potential changes to this area, fine, leave it. Maybe find how can we even improve it then? If you like that, how can we improve it further? Ask the right kinds of empowering questions to give them some guidance.
Nice. You know, you can also do, Miguel, sometimes just ensure the sky is right. Because remember, the sky is all the aspirations and spiritual beliefs and so on. If he says he's made the shifts, check with him what the sky looks like.
Yeah.
And check that against the sky behind him and say, how does that make you feel? And that'll tell you whether or not you have to shift anything there. Shifting the sky can have a phenomenal effect as well.
Okay, and then the handwriting, McGill, I'm going to get Mike to look at the handwriting
I'll look
sample
at it, I'll take a look
and post it
offline,
here.
and I'll post that there this weekend.
Only because there's absolutely no point in discussing the handwriting that no one else can see on the video, right? So
right.
We'll keep that in the group. Makes sense. And
well,
I don't see anything
think
else.
that's it. So let me close with, we have a bit of an announcement to make. There's going to be a huge shift with Mike Mandel Hypnosis. And we want you guys to know, because you're our students, before we tell anybody else. In fact, this bit will be edited out of YouTube before it goes online. So we just want you to know there's a big change coming. I am moving to Vancouver, and Chris is going to be moving to Alberta. He's got a different opportunity for his family. I moved to Vancouver because we're selling our house, and we think it would be a good idea to transfer all our trainings to the West Coast. Now, there's two things that are happening as a result of this. First one is that the May trainings will not be affected. All the trainings from June on will be affected. The trainings will be on Vancouver Island. Also, April Fools! Just kidding. I'm a comic genius. I couldn't even get to the point of saying, I was going to say we're shutting down Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy in a month, so please, and we love being here. We're not going away.
No, we're good. All right.
Hi, we are comic geniuses.
We will actually have to edit that out of the replay.
I know, and technically, we're past the time of April Fools, so we're the biggest fools of all.
We are. You know what, they call it noodles.
I don't even care.
Who cares?
I don't even care. Yeah. So, okay, I hope we didn't stress anybody too much. Nobody's gone and killed himself or anything. But look, or booked a plane ticket to Vancouver in that 2-minute stretch.
Cancel. I'm going to cancel my flight.
Let's get ready to do our classic landing here, Chris. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in. And is there anything else we need to say?
Well, we're going to go and do We're going to go and record podcast 70.
We're going to do podcast 70. Podcast 69 is already online.
We need to eat off first, so I got to starve on, man.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't eaten anything yet, but I'm intermittent fasting, so who cares? Okay. All right. I should probably not be on Facebook when I want to hit the stop button. I should probably get back to our live broadcast.
Great work.
Here we are. Thanks, everybody, for coming out.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
Yeah, you need the music.
I don't know if I even have it here. It's probably pretty cool.
Oh, epic fail. That's it. You're fired, Mike.
That's right.
Hey, I haven't gotten to say that to you forever.
No, you haven't.
You always say that to me.
I know.
Usually it's when I send
out
an email with a typo in it, and he says, that's it. He's been fired.
Oh, Adam Sutherland. Why didn't you
Best thing about working for yourself, right, is no one can fire you.
It's okay, you know what? I can't even find it.
So so here, how about you do air guitar?
Yeah. Okay, ready?
Yeah. Good night.